Hi everyone, I am Abdul Mujib Araminuddin. In today's video, I'll go into report about the Chapter 7, the surveillance and undercover assignments. So what is surveillance? Surveillance defined as the designated or secret observation of places, persons, and vehicles for the purpose of obtaining information concerning the identities. There are two types of surveillance: the covert surveillance and the overt surveillance. So the covert surveillance means when the subject is not aware that he is being observed, and overt surveillance means when the subject is aware that he is being tailed. So the purpose of surveillance: number one is to get information on criminal activities for the future raid. Number two, to discover the identities of persons frequenting the place to establish their criminal activities. Number three, to obtain evidence of a crime or to prevent the commission thereof by arrest or raid. Number four, to establish a legal grounds for the application of a search warrant. Number five, to arrest the criminal in flagrante delicto. Now, we will discuss about the other types of surveillance. It is the fixed surveillance and moving surveillance. Fixed surveillance means watching a house or building, and moving surveillance means on foot or by motor vehicle. And then there are three kinds of surveillance. Number one, surveillance of places. Number two, tailing or shadowing. Number three, undercover investigation or wrapping. What is the objectives of surveillance of place? Number one, to detect criminal activities. Number two, to discover the identities of the person infrequent to establish and to determine their relationship. Number three, to discern the habits of a person who lives in. Number four, to obtain evidence of the crime or to prevent the commission of a crime. Number five, to provide a basis for obtaining a search warrant. Number six, to apprehend person in the commission of an offense. What is the purpose of shadowing? Number one, to detect evidences of criminal activities. Number two, to establish the associations of a suspect. Number three, to find the wanted person, to protect the witness. Number five, to discover the associations, amusements, and habits of an employee who has been proposed for a position of responsibility. Number six, to check the loyalty of the employee in an establishment where the thefts have occurred. Now, what is the objectives of undercover work? Number one, obtaining evidence. Number two, obtaining information. Number three, checking informant. Number four, fixed surveillance means assist installation of investigative equipment. Number five, checking loyalty. Number six, subversive organizations means detailed information concerning subversive group. Number seven, security check, listen to conversation and security leaks or careless observations. Number eight, preliminary to search or raid means determining presence of. And now I'm going to report about the Chapter 8, the reactive and proactive methods of investigation. There are two types of criminal investigation: the reactive investigation and proactive investigation. So reactive investigation means are the traditional manner in which police become involved in the investigation of crime. Number two, proactive investigation means which are often covert in nature, usually involve the police initiating investigative activities prior to the occurrence of a crime. Through proactive type investigations, the police place themselves in a position to deal with crime before it happens. And now let's go to the proactive methods of investigation. Letter A. Blending operations. The officers dress in civilian clothes to blend into an area and patrol it on foot or in unmarked police cars in an attempt to catch a criminal in the act of committing a crime. Letter B. Stakeout operations. A stakeout consists of a group of heavily armed officers who hide in an area of a store or building waiting for an impending holdup. If an armed robber enters the store and attempts a robbery, the officer will police from their hidden areas. If the perpetrator fails to drop his weapon, the officers open fire. Stakeouts are effective in cases where the police receive a tip that a crime is going to occur in a commercial establishment. Letter C. Decoy operations. The officers dress as and play the role of potential victims, waiting to be the subject of a crime. Meanwhile, a team of backup officers stand by to apprehend the perpetrator in the act of committing the crime. Letter D. Interdiction. Interdiction involves the interceptions and seizure of drugs and smuggling. And then the last one is the chapter 9. Crime scene search. Golden rule at the crime scene. Never touch or move any object at the crime scene unless properly photographed, measured, and indicated in the sketch. Crime scene rules. Number 1. Do not use the crime scene as a temporary headquarters. Number 2. Do not unnecessarily touch anything. This prevents the destruction of evidence and avoids the embarrassment of having your fingerprints on the evidence. Number 3. Get names of all persons present at scene, including police officers, coroner, and so on, and forward the list to the police identification unit for elimination fingerprint comparison. Number 4. Keep all unnecessary persons out of the crime scene. Number 5. Do not wrap any evidence that might contain fingerprints in any type of cloth. Use paper envelopes or paper bags. Number 6. If outdoors, rope area and protect evidence from the elements, if possible without moving it. Number 7. Try to determine points of entry and exit. Number 8. Examine for presence of latent prints. Number 9. Locate any objects that might have been handled by the suspect and process them. Number 10. Maintain a copy of the case history for your... And now the assignments of duties. Number 1. Officer in charge. One who directs the search, assigns duties, and assumes responsibility for the effectiveness of the search. Number 2. Assistant. He must implement the order of the OIC. Number 3. Photographer. He photographs the scene and individual pieces of evidence. Number 4. Sketcher. He makes a rough sketch of the scene, given and later a finished sketch. Number 5. Master note taker. One who writes down in shorthand the observations and descriptions during the search. Number 6. Evidenceman. He collects, preserves, and tags articles of evidence. Number 7. Measurer. He makes overall measurements of the scene. And now, the stage of a crime scene search. Number 1. Approach scene. Number 2. Secure and protect. Number 3. Preliminary survey. Number 4. Narrative descriptions. Number 5. Photograph the scene. Number 6. Sketch the scene. Number 7. Evaluation of latent fingerprint evidence or physical evidence. Number 8, detailed search. Number 9, collection, recording, marking, and preservation of evidence. Number 10, final survey to ensure conditions of the crime scene have been documented as thoroughly as possible. Number 11, release of scene. Moving forward to the standard methods of recording investigative data. Moving on the standard methods of recording investigative data. Letter A, photographs. Letter B, sketching crime scenes. Letter C, written notes. Letter D, developing and lifting fingerprints found at the crime scene. Letter E, gathering physical evidence. Letter G, tape recording of sounds. Letter H, videotape recording of objects. And letter I, written statements of subject and witnesses. And now the crime scene search. Number 1, processing and securing a crime scene. Processing a crime scene includes the application of diligent and careful methods by an investigator or policeman to recognize, identify, preserve, and collect fact and items of evidentiary value that may assist in reconstructing that which actually occurred. Number 2, protecting the crime scene and the evidence. Successful crime scene processing depends upon the policeman or investigator's skill in recognizing and collecting facts and items of value as evidence, and upon his ability to protect, preserve, and later to present this in a logical manner. Number 3, laboratory examination of objects and substances located usually at the crime scene. Objects and substances needing examination in some cases are carried, intentionally or unintentionally, by suspects from the crime. And now the investigator's notebook. Number 1, purpose. Considering the mass of details and the number of cases which in some instances an investigator is handling, it is very possible that he might forget some details. Number 2, recording note. The data of the investigation should be recorded in a complete, accurate, and legible fashion so that in the event another investigator is required to assume responsibility for the investigation, he can make intelligent use of the notebook. So, what is the police line? Police line is authority line used to preserve the crime scene that separate the crowds from the persons have the authority to handle the crime. And then now we will discuss about the importance of searching crime scene. Number 1, reconstruction of the crime. Number 2, certification and linkage of the subject to the crime scene. Number 3, establishment of possible cause of arrest. And now we will discuss about the points to remember in crime scene search. Number 1, secure the area, if possible, cordon the area. Number 2, avoid contaminating the physical evidences. Number 3, as much as possible, limit the number of persons that get into the crime scene. And now, how to send evidence to the laboratory. Number 1, wrap the items separately. Number 2, label packages and pack securely in one box. Number 3, seal and wrap the box again. Number 4, place original and copy of laboratory request in addressed envelope. Number 5, tape or sealed envelope securely to box or place it on the top of the box. Number 6, send registered package by mail or airmail or express, or if possible hand carry. Number 7, note if package contain firearms, put an indications. So that's all. Thank you.